financials not having the greatest day, and you've been working on a story actually about American bank CEOs, and are they making too much money for lackluster performance?
Right.
What did you find out?
Yeah, so there was a study from Aktis, which is a UK-based platform that basically collects and aggregates compensation data for various types of banks. And their conclusion was that U.S. bank executives have been overpaid compared to their performance, especially when indexed against their European counterparts. And a lot of that is simply because of U.S.-based compensation, including a lot of these bonus packages. You get a lot of stock options. There's a lot of bells and whistles that are beyond just the actual cash payment for a given year. I mean, when you look at the likes of Jamie Dimon, he's making upwards of, $26, $27 million in 2017. And even though he's been someone who's been at that bank for a really long time, you look at someone like Charles Scharf. He is the head of Bank of New York Mellon. He's only been there for only over a year, and he's making upwards of $17 million as well. And you could make the argument that, look, even with the turnover that we see in the banking industry, you need to pay them more because you need to attract talent, right? That is one argument. But what this study interestingly says is that that could be the same argument in Europe. And in Europe, what we've seen there is that their banks have obviously not performed as well as the U.S. banks over the same period, which they examined from basically 2009 post-crisis period to now in 2017. But at least they're paid kind of fairly for it. Actually, the index that they said was that European CEOs actually had their pay decline over that period of time by about 8.6% when you account for whether or not they actually exercise their options and other bells and whistles in their packages. Whereas in the United States, average CEO pay among the 8 largest banks increased by 19.7%. So there is a pretty big difference there.
Yeah.
I mean,
very big.
You got to be competitive. We all know people who have been in the executive compensation space. Let me tell you, that's a racket.
Yeah, just like this is what the other person's getting paid.
Yeah, so this is what we need to do to stay competitive in the landscape.
And to be fair, I think another thing that's worth pointing out is that in Europe, they do have regulations in place that actually require, compensation packages to be limited or capped at certain amounts. That's not something that we face here in the U.S. The extent of compensation regulation is basically limited to just disclosing how much your CEOs get paid.
Only there was someone running for president who might have views on how to compensate bankers.
Who is that, Myles?
I would never know. And we'll have to wait to find out.